Yeah, hello guys. Yeah, how you doing? Yeah, evening to you all. My name is Emmanuel, and I will be your personal tutor for this futures class we'll be having. So I myself and alongside Ebuka will be dropping futures calls for you guys this period of time. So before we dive into what this is all about, I'd like to put this out there that the futures market is a very volatile market. And without proper risk management, I'm afraid you will blow your entire portfolio. Like you go wreck. Like is that volatile? But I believe most of us here have an idea or two about risk management. So hopefully with proper risk management, we won't definitely be blowing our accounts. So the exchange we'll be using would be Bybit. So I'm sure most of you guys know how Bybit works, but for those of you out there that don't know how it works, this is just a simple tutorial that would that will help you guys in these coming days know how to place trade, because we'll be sending the signals directly, so you guys we need to know how to impute these signals and how to carry out the trade. So as you can see, this is my Bybit exchange. So what we'll be clicking is, you can see this derivatives option here. Yeah, derivatives. So okay, yeah, so that's what we'll be clicking. So we'll go to our derivatives. So this is how the derivatives the interface looks like. So as you can see up here, this is how does this now work? This right here is the crypto pair. As you can see, we have Atom slash USDT. So that's the crypto pair. Then this is the pair we'll be trading, Atom against USDT. So we have cross margin here. So we have this cross margin here. So on clicking it, you can see we have the cross and we have the isolated. So basically what the cross is all about, what the cross margin is all about is with cross, I wouldn't suggest anybody trading with cross margin, because it's quite very risky, in the sense that the way it works, basically, if we have an available balance of $100, definitely in futures we don't trade with our entire portfolio. So we want to use, for instance, we want to trade with $10 rather. So once we're in the trade, once we've placed our trade with $10, if the trade happens to go against us, with the cross margin enabled, once that $10 is finished, definitely we'll be left with $90. So once that $10 is finished, to keep that trade running, because it only makes sense if once the $10 is exhausted, the trade closes automatically. So in this cross margin mode, once it's activated, once that $10 is exhausted, the trade will still be running. But where would the funds be used to keep this trade going? Is from your available balance. So once the $10 has been exhausted, it goes to available balance, that's the remaining $90, and it starts taking from there. So as you can see, it's quite risky. We like the amount used in a trade. We wouldn't want anything to happen to our available balance, so it only makes sense if we use isolated. Now the way isolated works is quite the opposite of the cross margin mode. The cross margin. So isolated, the way it works, if you use $10 to enter a trade and the trade happens to go against you, your available balance will be it won't be touched. Rather, it's the amount you use to enter the trade that would be affected. That will be affected. So if you use $10 to open a trade and you're losing $5, $7, it's not affecting your available balance, which is the $90. It's only affecting the amount used in the trade, which is the $10. So if you're liquidated, for example, it's only the $10 that will be affected, not your entire portfolio. But in cross margin, if you're liquidated, once you're liquidated in cross margin mode, your entire portfolio would be wiped out. That's the entire $100. But in the case for isolated, if once you're liquidated, the only amounts you're losing will be that $10 and not the entire $100. So that's all you need to know about margin mode. So we have leverage. Once we click on leverage, which is this 20x, once we click it, as you can see, we have different leverage. We have from 1x down to 50x. So how the most basic term I can use to explain leverage for you, just look at leverage as risks. Low leverage means low risks, and high leverage means high risks. Yeah. So, and also leverage has to do with volatility. The lower the leverage, the less volatile that pair is, and the higher the leverage, the more volatile that pair is. So I wouldn't suggest using 50x except if you want to blow your account, or rather, the way leverage works. If you have low capital, like when I say low capital, that's what I'm talking about. Like $10, $5, you can use high leverage. That's with your $5, you can use 30x, 40x, 50x. Because if you tend to use a low leverage for your small account, for your small portfolio, you would see profits quite alright, but the profits will be very, very minimal. It will be very, very little. And while people might be having a ROI, a percentage up of 100%, 200%, definitely the percentage will be high, but your return on investment, which is your ROI, would be very, very little. So if you have a small capital, a low capital, you can use high leverage. But if you have a decent amount of capital, I would suggest you use low leverage, just so you won't blow your account on time. And what you also need to understand with leverage is the higher your leverage, the higher your liquidation price. The higher liquidation price. But with low leverage, because since it has to do with tricks, definitely your liquidation price will be tampered with. So with high leverage, you have a higher risk of being liquidated, but with low leverage, you have a lower chance of being liquidated. So I would suggest we work with the leverage you'll be working with during this period of time would be 20x. So click on save. So as you can see, it's already on 20x, no change. So that's why it didn't work. So x. Then what else you need to know? I think this video is becoming long, so I'll have to cut it. Okay, I think I'll just make it 10 minutes. So let's go on. I'll just make it 10 minutes. So the next thing I have here is available. So we've got this here. We've got this. So once you click on it, you have your limits, you have markets, you have conditional. For this class, the only thing we'll be working with is limit order and market order. So basically, the way this type of orders work, you have limits. Limits, just like the name suggests, limits. Once me on Ebuka, once we send a signal, we have the price. So the way limits works, once that price is activated, you don't go into the trade immediately. So we set a limit price. So once price hits that price, the trade um it triggers immediately. That's how limit works. Once you set a limit trade, the trade won't start running immediately. It will wait till that price is triggered. So once the crypto pair gets to that price, your trade triggers automatically. Once it hits that limit price, it triggers automatically. Then we have market price. Market price means the way market price works. Once you click on market, the trade activates immediately because it doesn't have you didn't set a price like a limit price. So the way market price works, it executes at that current market price at which the market is in. So once you click on market, once you set the amount you want to buy with and you click buy, it activates immediately. It doesn't wait till a certain price before it gets triggers. It triggers immediately. So that's the only two types of orders we'll be working with on this class: the limit price and the market price.